What's going on, folks? Today's live stream is brought to you by Hustlers Kung Fu University, where you can get 50% off of any course by using the promo code MONEY. I suggest you get the money management course, the basics of finance and wealth development. So, with that, let's roll in today's show. Millennial doing the minimalist thing of van life lifestyle. Once they get on YouTube and they start getting some of this YouTube money, they level up. This is the craziest thing. Like virtually, David, Matt, I forget his name. I'll have to look him up. But he was doing the minimalist life. His girlfriend moved in with him. He got married after he made the decision because for a long time he would not run YouTube ads on his videos, and people loved him for him for a long time. But then he's like, "This is costing me too much money," so he started to run ads. And next thing you know, he moved to a bigger place with his wife. The big root of this, and the reason I'm having this discussion is, if you feel poor, it's because you are poor. You're not making the same money proportionally that your daddy made working on the shop floor. He didn't have a degree, but you do have a degree and you make less money. Matter of fact, you living in his basement right now, a basement of a house that he was able to afford because the tax rate was lower. He proportionally made more money than you, even though he's less educated. So this brings us to the intersection of education and income. And I've been saying this for years. You don't need a degree to become a billionaire or a millionaire. Let's say this again. You don't need a degree to become a billionaire or a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I don't have no degree. But I understand how money works. I understand how business works. And this is one of the things that you've got to do. This is one of the things you've got to understand. This is one of the things that you've got to appreciate. One of the things that you should look for. One of the things that, you got to be aware of. One of the big things. I see no evidence of it working out. There is no evidence of it going the way that it's supposed to go. So, first thing is, if you're a millennial, you're better educated than your parents, but you don't make the money that they made and you can't make the money, you need to get a new education. You need to get a financial literacy education. You need to understand where money comes from, how money is made. And when I start my financial channel, this is one of the things I'm going to talk about because there's a lot of financial channels that talk about how to buy stocks, how to buy real estate, how to do, and there's a few who talk about entrepreneurship, but they're really not entrepreneurs. that kind of tickles my little heart. It tickles my little heart. So, we're going to talk about how to make money and the importance of making money, the importance of putting together, because there's one guy who's a minimalist and he's got plugged into the social media network. He's doing all these shows, he's showing up, talking to a 29-year-old multimillionaire. And I find it very interesting that he has paper net worth. He doesn't have millions of dollars cash, which, part of this whole thing, and I'm going to break down the importance of developing a cash basis, is as a millennial today, you need to get yourself a side hustle or start a business. So, let's see. All right, there we go. All right, that's good. That's good. So, one of the things is you got to understand the importance of a financial education. This is hands down one of the biggest things you can do because, let me go ahead to Reddit because they are going in. So we're going to talk about these Redditors because they're saying it ain't true, but they're only looking at themselves and their friends. They're not looking at the greater landscape of people. They're not looking at all these van lifers, all these minimalists. They're just looking at their well-educated tech people because there's this one guy that broke it down. Let's see, because the discussion's going on. Here's someone that my BS meter started to go off immediately when I saw the headline as well. I just posted a similar reply using the census data. I looked up individual, not households, that shows the conclusion is not only wrong, it's the opposite of reality. I cannot track how young Invincibles got their data. First of all, half the country, 75% of the workforce makes less than $33,000. That's a lot of millennials. Because they're going off because they're myopic in their viewpoint. Critical analysis of the article has seen very disconcerting that single household income has seen literally no growth in the past 20 years. This is some people, people are looking at it. Let's see, where's this guy's comment? Household income is misleading. Four people huddled together in a rental house making 16.5 each fit statistics and completely mask their poverty. Alternatively, four boomers owning their houses with a single income of 58 each vastly exceeds the incomes of the previous examples. And this is one of the things that people are now looking at. A lot of millennials live together. This is going to be a little tortured because I was having a conversation, because I'm talking to all these attempted sugar babies, and this girl, because I'll do that video for Disruptive Male, but this girl, she's living with people that was set up. She don't even know these people. They weren't friends. So income is so strapped that you got people who are forming arrangements living with strangers because they're so economically depressed. So this is some of the stuff that's going on that a lot of people are not talking about. And they're not looking because they're only looking at their friends and people like them. They're not looking at the greater landscape of people. So once again, if you're a millennial, Uncle G, are the salaries adjusted for inflation? Of course not. They don't do that, Trav. So you got to do your own adjustment. Eric Williams, folks have similar 5 to 10 friends. Like all my tech friends would just get a job in tech. On a plane now, folks always asking am I using points for first class. No, sir, I own a business. I use points for first class. I got so many points from my Chase Sapphire, I did not have to pay for a plane ticket for about 3 years. That's when I was running a lot of Google ads. So, points are good. Malika Harris, yeah, I'm in the millennial group and I did not know how poor people were. I saw the trend get into security when I was in high school. I've been here ever since. My job look is amazing. You're one of the well-positioned millennials. But see, if you dig deep in the data, the majority of millennials are ass out. The majority. Not just a segment, not a well-to-do group, not just your friends and family. Because, I remember when I was going to school, and this girl whose parents were multi-millionaires, they owned a grocery store chain, her outlook on life was so different than my outlook. It was so different. She would just say, well, ask your parents. Because her reality was, I can ask my dad for $1 million, and he has it. He has it. That did not work for the Cameron household. Same when I posted 33, my tech friends are like, how are people living? And once again, people tend to not worry about something that's not in their circle, that's not in their framework. Like, you know, the poor people living under the tents downtown Atlanta. I know about them, but I don't really think about them because it's not my reality. It's not my everyday norm. King Nick, now I made more than 33K at 19 and I barely survived in college. That's poverty. What's up? Eric Williams, in my house, I was in with two girls, one making 150 a year, the other one making 130 a year, and me 100K. Everyone was like, how y'all going all on vacations all the time? We could not tell our folks our income. Malik here, yeah, I had a friend when I was in Colorado answering Craigslist ads to room with people because rent was high. This chick didn't know the guy, but she's his roommate. This happens a lot. All right, Fred Flamer. King Nick, I can believe Eric Williams. The worst part is even if you want to inspire people to tell them they can make 100K a year, they just end up hating on you instead. Eric Williams, I got 70,000 points on 3 credit cards for saving them up for Italy and Africa first class. When I had $500,000 in points, that's how I was spending. So I was good for a long time. Because typically when you use your points, they go further than if you cash them in. Because I didn't have the cash back. It could have been a cash back deal, but I got more bang for the buck on airfare. Your boy Rich, millennials are stuck in the rut with school debt, so mentally it's hard for them to see the light. And that's like why people who are millennials will go back to school. They got all the student loan debt. They got a job that didn't require a degree. And they're like, well, I'll just go back to school, get more student loan debt. And then next thing you know, they're in worse debt and they're still working the same suck ass job. Anthony Johnson, how might one tap into the tech sector? Learn how to program. All these guys, Zuckerberg was a programmer before he was a CEO. You know, you also need to move there. Engineer life skill. What really kills me about millennials is their student loan debt is near 100K getting out of college. Miss M Stacks. I have a best friend who's Vietnamese and was past the family nail business. His favorite line was, ask your parents. These kids who come from well-to-do situations have a totally different reality than someone who comes from an environment of lack. Because I used to just look at her and I was like, I can't ask my mom for nothing. Matter of fact, I was sending money home. So a big part of income in education, because the first thing you got to get is a financial education. I think this should be mandatory before college. Malika Harris, man, your boy Rich ain't the truth. My friends do that all the time. I'm currently on the path to security cloud arc ticket, 2 certs away. Cheapest certifications with a great outlook. And once again, you need to embrace tech and the internet, because this is what liberated me. I had a business, a cash business that did really well. It never made $1 million in a year. We got 1 year, we got real close, but we did not make $1 million in a year. And I got here on YouTube and I leveraged that money knowledge through a book. And 3 years later, I was a millionaire. So 10 years of buying storage units, cleaning out stuff with rats, and it didn't get me there. But the leverage of technology. YouTube is tech. YouTube is getting very, very tech, because I'm like, after this, I got to go to school tonight because I'm taking this YouTube class and we're going to break open our third week this week. And just the stuff that they're talking about, the research, the information. My other channel is going to be very different from this channel. Dave Ramsey got his courses taught in high school. Cool. Programming is so plug and play. G3 ball and getting into tech, getting my certifications. I mean, this is the play. Because if you're a millennial and you're operating on old economy paradigms, you will lose. Go to school, get a degree. If you get the wrong degree, that can set you back 20 years. That could set you back a quarter of your life. One of the things that's happening, and this is a big, big issue. It's happening with a lot of folks right now. Study shows financial regret is real, and this mistake can take an average of 18.5 years to recover. And, a lot of people are regretting going to college. Most Americans are living with some kind of financial regret, according to a 2010 study from New York Life, which polled 22 adults about their financial mistakes. Participants ranked not saving enough retirement as their number one financial regret in general. But taking out too many student loans is the top money mistake that took the longest to recover from. The average participant reported off paying student loans for 18.5 years, starting at age 26 and ending at 45. Spending a significant portion of life repaying on college tuition fees is a reality in many Americans. In 2018, 69% of college students took out student loans with an average of $29,800 in student loan debt. The typical repayment period for borrowers carrying 20 to 40,000 in federal student loans is 20 years. Now, a part of that is happening is these people don't have financial education. Because if I came out of college and you're seeing that people have done the math, it's like I got I got $80,000 for college debt, and you're seeing people do crazy stuff to get rid of that debt as fast as possible. Because if it takes you 20 years to pay off your student loans, you're going to pay way more than if you knock those bad boys out in 2 or 3 years. Because there's something called compounding of interest. So let's say you borrowed 100K and it took you 20 years to pay it off. You've paid back 220,000 or maybe even 300,000 in some cases. That's money that, I mean, essentially the interest was a rental property. The interest that you paid was something that could have been cash flowing with monthly income for you and your family forever. So financial regret is a big, big issue. A lot of people are going through it. Extraordinary money. How do you overcome a poor GPA biology bachelor's and still be financially free? You start a business or a side hustle. Bad Wolf MMA, kudos can practice what you preach by continuing education. Crack the YouTube nut to create your own course for the public, brother. Go Buckeyes. Joshua Hill, engineering life, because a lot of it has to do with most millennials being told by their middle class elders and older siblings that education equals a good job, not knowing the system is changing. Yes, the system has changed because one of the things that happened to millennials, and it goes back to what I talked about the other day, was the raising of the manufacturing base. I mean, when I was a kid, making money was pretty easy. I mean, as a 14-year-old kid, I was able to go up and get a job. There was just so many things to do that you could make some money. And if you were broke, no money, that was usually, a lack of initiative. But today, people are facing some real problems. Yeah, y'all talking about this tech stuff. Yeah, because being debt free is a very important part of the equation, and the decisions. Because if I had children who were college age, I would say go to community college 2 years. You could pay for that. Then, if you wanted some fancy degree, then transfer to whatever college you wanted to. Cosmoves, a man I had a conversation with Millennial that got a PhD in percussion with student loan debt. It's going to be hard for him. Because, see, this is one of the big issues. They're giving these young people all of this money, and these young people have no clue to what they want to do. I mean, because I was in school and I was taking biology because I thought I was going to go to medical school, and that drastically changed. And fortunately, I was in the military and they paid for my education, so I did not have any debt from that experience. Blew my mind, went to college for drums. Thomas Dickinson, there were 4 plants to work in at the 50-mile radius where I grew up in the 80s. Only one is still there. The rest are gone. And that's sad, man. And this is just the American landscape has changed, and it's impacting any and everything. One of the big situations that's happening is that, like, I made a purchase on a online website, and it's a Chinese website, and the stuff was shipped from China. So one of the things that you've got to understand is the Chinese. I didn't even know that it was a Chinese website until I got to the checkout, and I was like, "Oh, the shipping is going to be DHL," and I just got the package today. Everything has changed, but nobody has told these millennials, like, let's take the group of online internet millennials. They're a different breed. They're figuring this stuff out. They're becoming millionaires in 2 or 3 years because they're embracing technology. And some of them do a really good job. Is like, hey, like all these folks who did these FBA courses, they made bank. They made bank. Go ahead, do Amazon FBA, get you some good screenshots, create a course, and then Amazon just changed the rules, like pretty much like I figured Amazon was going to do. I mean, once again, the millennials, you got to get yourself a financial education. You got to get yourself financial literacy. And this is critical, and this really needs to be taught to teenagers before they start making these decisions to sign these papers to get these big loans. That is a big problem. It is a huge, huge problem. A lot of folks don't understand. But, like your parents grew up, and I kind of grew up in the era where I can realize what has gone. As Thomas Dixon said, as I was a young boy, I had an option. I could have went to the coal mine, or I could have went to USA Steel, and they were paying like 10, 11, 12 bucks an hour. This was in the 70s. When 12 bucks an hour, let's see. 12 bucks an hour. I know it ain't much, but 12 bucks times 160, 1920 bucks. But in the 70s, your rent was like 500. And that was high rent in the 70s. So you made $2,000 and your rent was like 300 to 400 bucks. A quarter of your income versus half. That was a big deal. Your boy Rich, they're closing all those loopholes, so it's going to be hard for you to get money. So millennials need to get something or start a business that's called drop shipping. People have to start their own brand. That's very important because you hear this stuff like everybody can't start a business, and you know what? Whenever I hear that, it's just people don't want to be responsible for their own financial future. That's what I hear. Because when you start a business, you become responsible for your financial future. You own it, you drive it, win or lose. And that's what I hear because a lot of people just want to play. A lot of people want to work, 4 days a week and have 3 days off and have the money to enjoy life. That's what a lot of people want. In the economic reality, unless you are super, super talented or you built your own thing, they ain't gonna happen. It just ain't gonna happen. And a lot of people don't understand this. Josh Hill, the Amazon ebook Kindle game has made a lot of traditional publishers salty. It's made a lot of authors salty because at one point, Kindle was like a license to print money. And I had a lot of friends that quit their jobs, were able to live off their Kindle earnings. Then Amazon changed their game. Then people saw their incomes drop 70 and 80%, and they had to go back to work. E-man, what you need to do is study the industry. You need to find someone that's doing what you need to be doing, and you need to go work for them. Thank you, Emporer Prime. Dollar will get your stock chart reading game up. Anthony Johnson, I'm going to outsource to Python. Trav, there are so many tech jobs that go unfulfilled and no one has the skill. Why do you think companies import workers? Go to Indeed and put HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in the search. Good fellow Nell, I hate it when people try to sideways shame entrepreneurship like ain't nothing wrong with it, but with a job. But it's a problem, especially dead end problem. Essentially, jobs are what they are. And if you want a good job, you need to prepare yourself for a good job. I know someone who was a nurse who wanted to get into IT, and she did everything she could. She went to school, and she literally tripled her income in 3 years. She went from 42 to $120,000 in 4 years. And she maxes out her 401k and stuff. She saves like she invests $15,000 a year. Because she maxes out and she gets a company match. And this is something else too, that a lot of millennials, you got well-to-do millennials with these tech jobs, these engineering jobs. They have similar friends. So they don't see the millennials that are literally collapsing in the street. They don't see the millennials who don't have gas money. They don't see the millennials who are hand to mouth. They don't see the millennials who are working these dead end jobs because that's not their reality. That's not their friend circle. That's not their network. And, like the other day, I was saying something like, I don't see ugly women getting married. And in my network, like, there ain't a fat chick in this neighborhood on the street. There's not one. I've looked. All these wives are fit and trim and small. There's a reason. To be in this network, that's how you got to be. To be in this network. Like, I noticed this years ago when I was at a car wash, and I saw this pregnant woman from behind, and I didn't know she was pregnant until she sat down and I saw that baby. She just had a pregnancy ball. She did not waddle. And I just started noticing that all over the place because your network. To be in this network, you get pregnant, you going to get that snapback. These women out in this neighborhood do not get like 70, they don't gain 70, 80 pounds during their pregnancy. They get the snapback. But they have the money to get a personal trainer. They have the money to buy high quality food. They have the money to get a doctor. They have all of these things going for them because of their network. And I'm telling you, it is crazy the stuff I see out here. Because, I had to come out of my network to see that these ugly women were getting married. Because in my network, I don't see that. I don't see that. And typically, just like I had to come out of my network, these well-to-do millennials are going to have to come out of their network to see what's really going on. Because, if you're doing well and all your friends are doing well, you would assume that everyone else is doing well. They would be like, hey, it ain't that hard. Go to school, get the right degree, get the right job. You in there, right? Wrong. A lot of people are not in there. A lot of people are not doing well. Anthony Johnson, I'm making 250 to 500 as a developer. There ain't no way I'm not buying a whole town piece by piece. That's why I mess with Omni Man talking that digital bread and turning it into hard assets. Malika was wondering, I make six figures after I pay off my car. Thanks, of course. Should I focus on student loans or move forward with another plan? I put these loans in my budget. No, you should do your best to pay off your student loans as fast as possible. You should have eliminated all debt as fast as possible because this is what happens, and this is part of your financial education. Your income is the shovel to your wealth. All right. So let's say you make 100K. It's 800 and 600. That's 8,600 bucks per month. And after taxes, you bring it home like seven. So out of that $7,000, six is allocated to bill money. Now, if you didn't have any bill money, you didn't have any car payments, you didn't have any student loans, then you would have $7,000 to invest. So it's all about getting a bigger economic shovel. This is one of the reasons that I've been able to do, come up really quickly is I have no bills. I have no car payments. I have no credit card payments. I have no consumer loans. I have no student loans. I have nothing. I've just got a little business debt that ain't really nothing that's being paid by the business because it's a tax dodge. That's it. That's all I have. So my economic shovel is huge. I mean, just think if you could put $3,000 a month in investments, that's $36K a year. In 2 years, that's $72,000. You're going to hit six figures in investments in 3 years. That's how you become a millionaire. Because see, right now your money is segmented between car payments, student loans. So your economic shovel is really, really small. So you want to make your economic shovel big as possible. Going to Afrotech right now in Oakland. Glendon, when you fly on these planes, you see these fat, ugly wives everywhere. I don't see them. I don't really travel a lot right now. I do remember when I was flying a lot, I saw all kinds of craziness in first class. First class was interesting. It was interesting. You would see the people in suits and stuff. You see the people in sweatsuits and stuff. You really never know what the hell's going on in first class. Prince Diamond, my G, what do you consider an ugly woman? That's very subjective. Somebody with no teeth, someone with bad skin, someone, clearly overweight. Malika Harris, I have broke friends in my circle, but I'm cutting them off because I can't comprehend their situation. I went from homelessness to six figures because I didn't give up on myself. I can't have those people around me. Your network is your net worth. The people who are around you, the people who support you, the people who live, because see, there's an influence. Like a lot of my friends started getting married. Then I had, quote, the players of the group, they got married because they were influenced by their network. It's like everybody's getting married and having kids. I feel left behind. So I'm going to get married and have kids so I can join my friends. This happens over and over again. Hey, good fella Neil, I don't even see those folks. Gee, I seen the Corvette video today. He sort of had a point. I would just buy a new truck instead of get the vet out of cash flow. Once again, my whole point on that is if he was really cranking it, because when you make so much money that you could go out and buy a Corvette and there's more money that comes in. Because, see, when he did that video, I know exactly what he did because he sold the Corvette, took that money and got another rental property, which is a smart play. But if he was really cranking it, he wouldn't have to do that. And once again, this is the poverty mindset. This goes to the mindset that I don't espouse. We got to save money because they were all like, congratulations. Congratulations, man. A lot of people, because right now we're in this wave where people are living a poverty mindset, minimalism, van life, constraining their finances, being super frugal and cheap. That's where we are. And he adapted that, I think, because of the people. I mean, the reseller community, they're some cheap motherfuckers. They're just cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. And once again, if you do certain things like, I have 2 luxury vehicles, but they're paid off. And they were paid off when I bought them. And I did not have to spend all the money I had in the bank to get them. There was no way in the world I would spend all the money I have in the bank to get a toy. That's crazy. But I spent a small portion, and there was still money left in the bank. Dollar Will, when you get in your 40s, age discrimination awaits. I've got some friends going through that right now. Because if you don't have your corporate ticket stamped by a certain age, they're going to get rid of you, and your income's going to go down, 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 down. How do you feel about high cash value life insurance? I don't think that's a good way to go. Anthony Johnson, I got to get my cheese up. I mean, they're cheap. And I know that whole community, and that's why I got away from them because I didn't like the community. It was, when I was doing my videos, they were on me like, you shouldn't be charging for information. You should be helping. So I spent all this time in the storage auction business, sweat, tears, working 6 to 7 days a week to give away this valuable money making information because you so broke you can't afford it. Because essentially, it was a $99 product. And if you whining about $99, you got more problems. You got 99 problems and money's one. Because one of the things is you got to get to a point where debt doesn't conquer your life. Because I'm sitting here thinking about paying cash for my next property that I personally live in, or I might house hack it. Just depends. I'm looking at how to set that up because this is one of the reasons I'm taking the YouTube course, because essentially, if I get views, I make sales. The content is already designed a certain way. I mean, I may have somebody that come across a video that's 7 years old. Well, I've had this, and this is what I've learned with my new channels. I don't get rid of stuff. I leave it linked forever. This is why Disruptive Mail is just making money hand over fist. I don't even put that many videos on that channel because I've learned, my YouTube education, because I've had people like, hey, man, does this 5,000 dollar course still exist? And I get an email, and I'm like, this is somebody that really wants to buy it. And they're like, no, and it'd just be too much trouble to put it all back together for one person. So this is one of the reasons that when I do stuff, I don't change it. If it's a link, if it's something, it's got to be sustainable. because this is how you become a sustainable millionaire, by having steps. Like, I mean, I had a dude. I actually did it for him because it was like $20,000 sale, and he found the video and he was so impressed. And one conversation, 20Ks. So YouTube is very powerful, and once you start putting this stuff out, you just can't change it, because you could have someone 5 years later come along and buy that product. That is the power of YouTube, and a lot of people just don't get it. Moham, Cosmo Miller, corporate ticket punch means if you're not lockstep to follow corporate rules in politics, you're passively shunned and removed. Pretty much, you're out of here. They're getting rid of you. And I've seen this happen because typically this is why many people, when they reach their mid 40s to mid 50s, their income starts going down, because they tap out, because they go as far as they can in corporate America. And once you get to the height, the next thing is descent. You're going to go down. Red Herring. He knew Jeffrey Epstein was a pedo 15 years ago. I mean, that Epstein thing was kind of crazy. I talked a little bit about that on another channel. But essentially, for millennials, you got to reframe and retrain your mind and get yourself a financial education. Like, one thing you should do, if you meet this woman and y'all get married, you should live on one income and take that other income and knock out these student loans. Every month, you should be paying $2,000-$3,000 on these student loans. And, because it's a whole different thing. Alex Jones was a crazy man. He was a conspiracy theorist, and he went too far, and that's why he got banned on YouTube. That's why his website, they got rid of him. He went too far. But if you're a millennial, because I've seen couples do this. I knew this one couple that used to live next to me, and I was just talking to her husband, and he said, when we got married, and they were both making six figures. He's like, we had all this student loan debt because they both have master's degrees. And we said, we just took her income and paid off our student loan debt in 2 years. Because, he's like, I had 120, she had 114. And we just took her whole check and paid off student loan debt. And then they have a house in California they own free and clear. And they have a house here in Atlanta, and they rent their house in California. And they both make six figures. So once again, once you get to a certain level of money, your financial decisions should be. I'm not a fan of Alex Jones, so you're kind of barking up the wrong tree with that. Any advice for a single parent who's raised a child alone and has tapped out? Telling Stuart, one of the things you're going to have to do, and I know it's going to be really stressful, is you're going to have to even do more. You're a single parent, you have the burden of a child, you're going to have to create a small business to free yourself out of the financial hell that you're currently in. What's your take on velocity banking? I don't believe in these esoteric velocity banking. All of these things, velocity banking, whole life insurance, they're missing a powerful component. Make more money. Once again, you create your economic shovel. You get your shovel fat, where you could throw lots of money at debt or investments. And that's one of the things they're missing, because, with velocity banking, they'll have someone talk about doing velocity banking, and you're only making $35K a year, and they're talking about velocity banking. You need more money. $35K a year after taxes and stuff is like $2,200 a month. Your rent or mortgage is taking half your check. You got a car, that's taking like another 50% of the second check. If you live in a traditional America, it ain't enough money to do shit with. And this is one of the things that all of these esoteric velocity banking, They're missing. When my life, I realized that the key was, and I figured it out in East Point, was more money. Because I was making decent money, and then I did that JDA thing, and I had this huge infusion of cash. And I was spending money. I was spending money. I was a little bit more spendy than I am now. And the money was coming in so fast. That's the whole trick. You got to make more money. And you got to manage, and since I didn't have any bad habits, I didn't go to the strip club just didn't really turn me on. Some stupid fool was like, hey, you ain't no baller because you in this strip club. I ain't stupid. I'm going to go in there and pay some girl's college tuition or lifestyle just to have her shake some ass dust in my drink. I think not. So I didn't have any bad habits, no strip club habits, no drugs. So my spending was constrained. Because if you're a normal person with normal appetites, it's hard to spend $1 million a year. Now, if you're a celebrity or you one of these people up living that life, or you got a bad habit like strip clubs or drugs, oh yeah, you can go to that money real quick. But if you're a normal person with normal appetites, once you get to 150, like say you and your wife make 150 and y'all have a household income of 300K, you guys could become millionaires in 5 years with that kind of salary because you have the large economic shovel. Best advice I gotten from someone older than me. Others just don't want to down me because I'm a millennial. This was a good productive life for me as a millennial. That's right. Get rid of that debt. Because see, once you get rid of the debt, because like it, because I don't have any debt, it doesn't take me a lot of money to live my day to day, and I eat out quite a bit. And with that, I should do a public service announcement. I eat out at healthy food establishments because Chipotle, because their stuff is not really that bad. I eat there a lot. I've started eating at these food, farm to table places, just better choices. But I eat out pretty much every day, probably 600-700 bucks a month. It does nothing to my budget because I have money coming in. So that's really one of my extravagances. That's pretty much it. I just don't spend a lot of money on stuff. So living, and once you get here, your money can stack. Where are these six-figure ladies? Man, they out here, man. I agree with you 100%, but I'm also into leveraging the bank's money to make more money. Our crews, if you walk in the bank with a $300,000 income, they gonna throw so much money at you because once again, the math is the same. The more money you make, the more money you can borrow to leverage. Once again, the math still works. Yeah, that's one of the things I look at because I went and got checked up. My blood pressure routinely is like 127 over 79. And typically that's, I take my blood pressure every morning. Because typically when things get out of whack, that's one of the bad things that happens is there's too much sodium. Honey Money saw a post the other day. A guy said he made 40K a year once he paid off his last student loan. His 40K felt like 100. Because see, this is the financial education you got to understand. Like, you make 50K, you shouldn't have a car payment. Even though your credit score and FICO and the dealers and all the banks are saying, hey, we're going to give you this money, you should not do it because you don't make enough money. Even at 50K, you should not have a car note. You should have a car that's paid for. You should get around to car notes at 150 and only should be at least if you have a business. That's the only way that I would recommend having a monthly payment on a car note. Because if you do a lease for your business, you can deduct 100% of that. Man, the minimum is, it's all about money. NYC Evdo88, thanks for the $10 super chat. All right. Peace, Uncle G. Appreciate the financial gain. We'll be starting Hustler grad classes soon. Please don't be too hard on us red pill guys. We're not all bitter and lazy men. Thanks for the super chat. Because once again, this whole thing of the 20% of millennials, you see evidence of that everywhere. Who are all these van life people? They're millennials. The majority of them. That's who's doing this. So, you got to really look at the whole thing because, once again, the financial education, because this is why I'm going to start the personal finance channel and go deeper into these topics and leave this channel pretty much where I can talk about a broad range of topics because it's already set up for that. One of the things that I'm going to get into is these templates, these life templates, and I'm going to make them super cheap. Like, if you're here, you make this much money, this is what you should be doing. Those kind of templates, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, that kind of stuff. I'm going to work on that later on the day after I go eat. It's 4 o'clock. Yeah, I was up late last night. But once again, one of the things you've got to understand is the power of money and the power of making decisions. Because, like, if I was a guy making $50,000 a year with the knowledge I have right now, and I married a woman, we would get married with no debt. We would not have some big ridiculous, we pay cash for the wedding. Because essentially what we would be doing is living on my income and banking hers. And once we get, 2 years in, 3 years in, we got enough money to pay cash for a rental property. Bam. We get a rental property. We continue to live on my income, bank hers. Now we're going to bank the rent. And after 5 years, we got 3 or 4 rental properties, no debt, all this money coming in. Because, like I'm telling you, without debt, $3,000 to $5,000 a month is a lot of money. But with debt, $3,000 to $5,000 a month ain't nothing. It's like your checking account is like a lunch pad. Your money comes in and boom, it's out. It don't even stay in there long. And this is, you can't accumulate and stack money this way. Because once again, I'm going to start doing these templates for these married couples because you should not be living at the top of your income. You and your wife together qualify for a $300,000 house. Y'all should buy a house that's like $200,000. You should not be living at the full extent of your income. And this is something that happened to me since the East Point days and JDA. I've never lived at the top of my income. There's always been excess and there's always been extra because I don't tap out my income. A lot of people tap out their income to the point that they are using credit cards, loans, and other things to extend their income so they can live a little bit better without no assets. None. I worked out yesterday. I had a really, really good workout yesterday that included deadlifts, squats, and the bench. That was one of the best workouts. So today, there will be another workout. Benny, the day of reckoning is coming for a lot of people because essentially What happens when you live to the extent of your income is the minute something happens, a car accident, someone gets sick, a recession, then you sideways. You like, I mean, one of the things one of the things that I've noticed in dealing with these personalities is how poor, like right now, I'll talk about this on Disruptive Mail, but with the sugar daddy course, dude, these chicks, they don't have money to eat. They don't have gas money. I mean, it is ridiculous what's going on with these chicks. And it's funny because I'm gonna probably do that video because I gotta move some stuff around because I'm bringing all the studios up here. I'm just gonna work out in the basement. One of those MGTOW red pill guys is like, I'm talking about people broke, and I'm doing videos on the porn set. He saw a sofa, and immediately porn came to mind. Porn. Actually, that sofa has seen a lot of action. The truth be told, I don't know if that was the esoteric energy emanating from the sofa, but that shows me where his mindset is. Because a lot of people see this and it's like, oh, that's a nice blue room. But his mind leapt to porn. That was a problem for me. Hustler undergrad university, man. I'm scared of folks making 40K or less a year. Because that's poverty level wages. Because, once again, you do the math. 40K a year. Let's see. Divided by 12. It's 3,300 minus 18%. It's 2763 minus, because this is something that I've seen. Because I went to Zillow and I looked at rents in a lot of markets, and rent is pretty much 1,000 to 1,500 for most stuff across the country. And that was very surprising because I went to Iowa and I was just like, the rents were crazy. I was like, what kind of businesses is going on in Iowa? Because they wouldn't be charging those rents if the people couldn't pay them. Our cruise, no, you're going to have to research that yourself. No, I'm not going vegan. Eric Williams, they're in the system that tells them it's just pretty and you can cash out on some dude. Benny, it was that chronic zombie dude because he's done videos on MGTOW stuff. Just to enter, many people live on the top of their income. I used to date a woman like that and kicked her out of my place. She wasn't with saving 20% of her income. She was living with you. She should have been saving more. Benny, I pay about $650 plus 40 electricity a month. I live in a small apartment. Yep, rent gauge for most areas. Because I was just surprised. Because go to Zillow if you ever have, if you're bored, have some time, and just see what the rent is in these places that are far removed from big cities. And when you get to the big cities, rent is bananas. New York, rent's always been crazy. Rent's too damn high. San Francisco, but there's other areas where the rent is surprisingly high. Birmingham, Alabama shocked me. Because I was thinking you could still get places for 400. No, nope, 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 nope. Even here in the hood of Atlanta, to get a bedroom, a three, because it's about the bedrooms. You know, a 4 bedroom house, that's going to be $1,500 to $2,000 a month, and people are caught up. So you've got all of these situations out here, because one of the things I'm going to start laying out with the new channel, because I need to work on that because I keep talking about it, is these templates for where you are economically. Because people are always saying, hey, I'm here, I have this much money, what should I do? And I don't think people should be investing 10, because like what to do with $1,000? $1,000, in my opinion, is not money to invest. And I'm gonna be honest with people. You want to be, if you're gonna invest $1,000 per month, which is 12,000 a year, okay. But if you just got $1,000 sitting somewhere, put it in the bank, start your service business. The goal is to make more money. This is the lesson that was revealed to me, that when I had money coming in like that, my economic problems went away. And I will also say, with full disclosure, I don't have a lot of bad habits. I don't have a drug habit. I don't have a strip club habit. I just wasn't blowing money in bad areas. So it was easy for me to stack. Douglasville's still low. Douglasville, it's funny. Douglasville, Lithia Springs, and Austell has become all black. Years ago, I used to work at Cobb General, and I used to have to go through there, and it was all white. It's amazing because all the white people have moved to Noonan. It is funny how white people migrate. Like, we're going to move over here, buddy. We're going to move down to Noonan. And there's this place called Chattahoochee Hills that is like this extremely well-to-do neighborhood with high-tech people. It's very funny. Honey Bunny, average rent here in the Midwest jumped from 800 to 1,200 for a 2-bed, 1 bath in the last 3 to 4 years. This is in a city with a population of 2 million. Benny, I miss Thailand. I was paying $250 a month for a condo. Rod for real estate. There's a new complex in Belleville, Washington, next to a new Facebook campus. A studio is going for $2,700 a month. I don't think so, Ben. Josh W. $1,800 a month for a 1 bedroom in Phoenix. I mean, it was really eye-opening to look around and see the rents that these places were charging. It was mind-blowing. And I was like, what these folks are doing. And also, I don't think that real estate's going to take the big economic hit during this next downturn. It is just, you know, I don't, because the foreclosure level is lower. It's like at a 27-year low. So that's usually an indicator when the real estate market is going to go south. Benny, how the hell are these people affording these rents? Half their income or more. Chattahoochee, yeah. So once again, it's all about how you manage your money. And just going ahead and giving people some templates and blue roadmaps, because like you getting married, I think every man that's getting married should have this conversation with his wife. Look, we're going to live on what I make, and we're going to bank everything that you make, and start living that way. And you're just never going to have these money problems that so many marriages have. Pap, multicultural and diversity means UN population replacement. So once again, gentrification, white people moving back to cities. Like, they're tired of these long commutes. I wonder what this is going to do to suburban property prices, because there's a big transition. Because I was downtown in an area that was straight up the hood, and I saw a white chick. It was like 12 o'clock at night walking her dog on the street. I'm like, I was like, Dave Chappelle, baby, what are you out here doing? What are you out here doing? And then I saw some other white people walking around. I was like, this neighborhood's changed. Spry, you got to earn six figures or close to it and live someplace very cheap and stack up to invest simultaneously. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with student loans. Maxine, one thing I don't understand these people who are letting these people put half of their monthly income. They just doing it, man. That's what it takes to get in. Clinton Jackson, cheap here in St. Louis, 1,200 can get you a 4 bedroom house. Benny, yep, white people are moving into once bad places. They get in, the rent skyrocket. That's what I'm seeing. Folks will be homeless and jobless before Uncle Sam will ever think of reforming. I saw a stat that the biggest asset the federal government has is student loans. So I agree with Honey Bunny. Malik Harris, seeing white people on Krog Street close to Edgewood was crazy. Midnight and 2 a.m. We have a $2,100 studio in Williamsburg, Brooklyn that's about to rent on Airbnb for $3,500 a month and move to Newark. All right, stacking and investing. Oh, I'm not buying anything this year. One of the things, again, I got to sit down and strategize because what's funding the real estate is my business. And I've got to, I was like, you know what? I can make a million. I can make $2 million with my business. So I'm going to stroke that up before I get into real estate. BK Pro here in the DC area, you need to make a minimum of 80K to own a home. Eric Williams, folks been complaining long commutes forever. Plus, you see in Houston, the flooding was in the suburbs, but not downtown. So the folks are moving back downtown. Here in Atlanta, they've been moving. This has been going on 15 years because they renovated this building that used to be a department store. I think it was either a Rich's or Macy's and turned it into condos. And it was old white people who bought those condos because they downsized. Suburbia will either deteriorate or become an enclave for more wealthy individuals. Benny, you're gonna have to change that. I'm um, I'm living in Kaspersky, Brooklyn, about to buy a house in Union County, New Jersey. Brooklyn is completely overpriced. Midtown is amazing. I wanted to get something there or near there. So, once again, the millennials have got to learn a new template of living. You got to do it. You got to do it. All right, I'm getting ready to bounce. So what you can do is go to Hustlers Kung Fu University and use the promo code MONEY and get the wealth development course, 30 days to 2,500. Those are the things I recommend people start off with. And you too can start your economic journey. All right. So with that, I'll see you.